English philosopher and author G.K. Chesterton once said, "Without education, we are in a horrible and deadly danger of taking educated people seriously." Nowhere could I agree with him more than when it comes to the persistent modern confusion over definitions. And nowhere is this confusion more evident than the fallout over Matt Walsh's documentary, What is a Woman? In my opinion, both the documentary and the response it has gotten from the chattering classes represents a great failure of our liberal arts programs to equip people with the philosophical tools they need to actually break down and assess complex problems methodically. So when Matt Walsh is observing something simply, in a common and non-academic way, strangely, it is the educated who are the most confused and out of touch, where a good education would only make an obvious observation sharper, stronger, and reality more robust and reasonable. To really strike at the heart of a correct intuition, modern education makes it vague, obscure, and confusing. Add a heaping helping of the self-satisfaction which comes from imagining that you're smarter than those stupid common people, and you have a recipe for the sort of nonsense we're looking at today. The whole reason Matt Walsh's documentary was so successful is this exact dynamic which, at its worst, metastasizes into the sloppy yet dogmatic clownery Walsh mocks.
I came today very willing and enthusiastic about answering questions about women's and gender sexuality studies, which is
So
the
you
work that I
wanted
do.
you wanted to answer questions about women's studies, and so shouldn't the first answer you should be able to provide is what exactly is a woman?
Well, for me, it's actually a really simple answer, and that's a person who identifies as a woman.
But what are they identifying as?
As a woman.
But what is that?
As a woman.
Do you know what a circular definition is?
But of course, he didn't convince everybody, and one of the skeptics was popular liberal streamer Destiny. Known for his blue hair and love of data, Destiny is considered by many to be a smarter, sharper version of left-of-center politics. You can often find him successfully debating less erudite conservatives who are only used to the usual tired lines of Twitter leftism or liberalism. So when I saw that he made a response to Walsh's film, I was genuinely interested in what he might say.
The thing that I've explained before is, I think that when we use language, when you use a word, it usually refers to like a family of concepts, okay? So when you say woman, it's not like when we think of definitions, we think like a word and then a definition, but generally it's like a thing and then it like branches out to like other things, and then those things branch out to like other things, typically. So if you're looking at like, when you say the word like...
These pictures never do anything.
Woman, okay? What are things that you think of for woman? Like, we might associate like, I would say like vagina is a pretty big one, right? I would say like pretty, maybe. I would say like dainty, nurture, caretaker, high voice, like stuff like this, right?
Sure.
So maybe we would like do this, right? So whenever you say woman, whenever you utter a phrase, you're like invoking all of these kind of like peripheral concepts a little bit, but not everybody's going to have all of these things. And there might be other terms. So like right over here, I might say like femboy, right? Where that might include like dainty, high voice or something like that, right? So this is, I think when we refer to things in the English language, we generally do it this way. People like to pretend there's a rigid definition like adult, human, female, but we don't use any word like that.
I like how he did this because it lets us use this topic to tackle the far larger and more widespread problem. People have forgotten how to define things in general. While this problem may bubble up in political debates, it is a far deeper and more fundamental problem of philosophy, logic, and even education itself. The traditional understanding of how to define things is based on Aristotle's approach, a systematic blend of identifying a general category, the genus, and then specifying a unique characteristic, specific difference, or differentia, which sets an entity apart within that category. The specific difference is so crucial in order to understand what a thing is, because, while it may share many characteristics with other things, the definitive factor which allows us to see what something is in its essence is contained in the specific difference between it and other similar things, what it alone possesses, which other things do not or cannot. From the metaphysics, the last differentia will be the substance of the thing and its definition. Essence is what it is in virtue of itself, and not in virtue of its association with just any quality that it might possess. For instance, a woman may tend to be softer than a man, or like to wear makeup, but this doesn't ultimately essentially indicate the specific distinction which makes it a woman. So if I have a high voice and wear makeup, I may be taking on some attributes which are incidentally feminine, but it cannot award me the specific difference which gives a woman the true essence of womanhood. And you can see how immediately this error degrades the conversation in this video, as Destiny and his co-host start to squabble about whether this or that irrelevant and accidental quality is or isn't part of womanhood.
Sexual
I don't
expression.
think anyone's arguing that the woman gender is smooth. Like, why don't you base it off things people actually say?
That's exactly what people say. You f***ing retarded? How many times do you think?
Smooth?
Yeah, you shave, don't you? Are your legs normally like this?
This is not smooth.
How much? Who do you think has more hair on their legs right now?
Probably me. I'm Indian.
Not even close. I'm Hispanic. Okay, we've got way more hair than you. Number one. Number two. So you've never shaved anything in your entire life?
I have to shave like 10 times a day for it to be like a cacti.
Oh,
throughout the
crazy!
day.
Do you think Indian men shave 10 times a day? She's
A
gonna say
lot of
sometimes.
them do, yeah. No, genuinely, a lot of Indian men have unibrows, and
Oh,
they
kill me, dude.
like,
I can't.
red
I
their
can't. She's not even
eyebrows.
trying to engage in
no,
good faith.
my
So if I go on the street and go,
that's the
what do you think
that's
is
something that
interesting?
transgresses most cultures.
You're actually brain dead. If I go on the street and I ask somebody, like, what do you think is interesting in men and women? They would go,
You can't
well,
say the makeup
men
thing
tend to
because-
gravitate towards things that are they're dealing with things, and women tend to gravitate towards things where they're dealing
That's
with
a
people.
common answer that I hear.
That's not a
that
common
I
answer.
hear, like, people say debate lords, yes. Versus the makeup thing, you can't say, like, you could say, oh, well, in some cultures, the men paint their faces, they put on war paint, so no one's gonna be like, oh, women paint their faces, that's like the female gender expression. Maybe in the West, sure. I'm just saying,
This sort of confusion can only be expected according to the imprecise method Destiny is using to outwit Walsh, where Destiny is positioning himself as the insightful sophisticate as opposed to Walsh, the simpleton. It is actually Walsh who represents the benefit of good philosophy, even if only intuitively. Neither Walsh nor any person in his camp would be ultimately persuaded by Destiny because they know, even if only through an unrefined, inexpressible instinct, that there is something missing in Destiny's account. Through a good education, they may learn to better express and refine this instinct. But nevertheless, as we find more and more in the modern world, it is the simple claim of Walsh which is closer to the real truth.